Alright chaps, I've been putting off making this video for a long time, but I finally ran out of excuses. So today I'm making a video on the Russian Revolution, and yeah, because my last historical video did quite well, and I also just like the idea of making historical videos. So yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, the Russian Revolution was like the first revolution on the planet, the first communist revolution on the planet, and the beginning of like the whole communist story arc in the 20th century. So it's like, I think I'm going to title this video like the rise of communism or something. So yeah, I mean, at the moment the communism story arc's kind of coming to well, I mean, it ended really mainly after the fall of the Soviet Union, but there's still like the final bits are kind of coming to a little sorry conclusion in the beginning of the 21st century. But anyways, yeah, let's go back to the start of this video. We're going to start this video kind of when communism was like a new and untested idea. Or I don't know how new it was, but it was certainly untested. Let's go back to, like Russia in the early 1900s. And so we start off under a monarchy, or like an imperial, whatever the hell you want to call it. The guy like styled himself as an emperor of the Russian Empire, but it was just a monarchy. He was called Tsar Nicholas II. And interesting, look, because I said empire, right? Well, Tsar is basically like, this isn't in the script. I'm just saying this. Tsar is like a different way, a Russian way, I guess, of saying Caesar, which was kind of like, so they styled themselves after the Roman Empire. But anyways, yeah, these guys have been in charge since, it's been a monarchy since like the 1700s. So for about 200 years, this guy and his ancestors and whatnot have been in charge of this Russian Empire. So yeah, I mean, like, 200 years they've been in charge. What's going on now that everyone's so pissed off and they have to launch a revolution? Well, basically, yeah, industrial revolution. Because, industrial revolution is in, like, the 19th century, or the late 19th century, the early 20th century. It, like, spread east across Europe, started in Britain and France and shit. I don't know if it actually started in France, but definitely started in Britain. And it was moving across. And then, like, yeah, it went across to Russia, classic industrial revolution. The people, the farmers and stuff that have been working on the land for centuries, yeah, a couple centuries, are moving into the cities, and the cities are getting more crowded because they're working in the factories and classic kind of industrial revolution conditions. You can probably picture it, when you think of like Victorian Britain, they have like the big fucking chimneys with the smoke coming everywhere, and like the people are living in like tiny little cramped dirty apartments and stuff. Yeah, well, imagine that, but instead of being in Britain, it's in Russia. So yeah, quality of life was shit. I mean, life expectancy was 47, everything was overcrowded, and the Russian government, led by the Tsar, just did not give a fuck. The workers were basically wage slaves. They had no hope of ever leaving the factories, leaving their shit little lives. So yeah, like naturally they're gonna be looking for any way out apart from living their same like wage slave factory job life for the rest of their life. Because man, I think if anyone was in that position, they would also look for any way out, even if it meant overthrowing the Tsar and risking their lives to overthrow the Tsar, whose family had been in charge for the past 200 years. Furthermore, the current Tsar Nicholas II, has been a fucking dumbass, right? There was in 1901, sorry, there was a bunch of strikes and all the workers tried to unionize. Like, you should know what a union is, just look it up if you don't. And the Tsar basically demolished, he crushed the unions. He said, nah, no unionizing for you guys. And basically, the unions, what they were trying to do is like fight for better like quality of life for the workers. So what basically this did was like reinforce the message that the government just didn't give a shit about the factory workers. Furthermore, he pissed off the middle class as well, because the middle class, like around this time, were starting to see how democracy was advancing in other countries, and they were like, oh, we want to do that as well. So they wanted to form like a parliament called a Duma, or I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's spelled Duma. And the Tsar basically said, no way, you guys are not getting any say in my government. I am the emperor, and I'm in charge. And so, yeah, he was pissing people off. Sorry, chaps, I took a month-long break from YouTube. Anyways, I'm back. I'm gonna finish this video. So the Tsar was like, where we were just at the start. The Tsar starting to notice that people were getting pissed off at him and the way he was like running the country. So he was kind of like brainstorming for ways that he could like unite the people, and a true tried and tested method of uniting the country is having an external threat. And so what he thought, okay, let's go start a war. And then he thought, well, because Russia was expanding east anyways, right? So he was like, well, let's go fucking start a war with Japan. They're just some like random ass underdeveloped Asian nation. Where they're going to compete with the developed European industrialized power. He started this war thinking it'll be easy, everyone will unite behind me. But yeah, he kind of got fucking smoked. Like the entire Russian navy kind of got blown up in like a single battle. The battle of like Tsushima or some shit. But yeah, he kind of lost. So the Tsar's in a bit of a pickle, isn't it? Yeah, so the war just fucked over the Tsar even more because they already thought he was like a shit leader and now they think he's a weak leader as well. Furthermore, the economy's a bit screwed up because a bunch of peasants got drafted into the army, so they're not making food. So there's not as much food. The taxes went up to pay for the war, so everyone's like pissed off because like they have to pay more taxes, and also there's less money in the economy because more of it's going towards the war, which they lost by the way. So it's all for nothing. But yeah, like in 1905, all of 150,000 workers go on strike in Moscow, and then this priest called Father Gapon leads like 100,000 of them down to the Winter Palace, which was like, because Moscow wasn't the capital then, the Winter Palace is where the Tsar, well, I assume where he lived in winter, I'm not entirely sure, but that was like his palace in Moscow when he was visiting or whatever. So they went down to the Winter Palace to protest, but like it was a peaceful protest, and they literally had like big photos of the Tsar they were carrying with them to show like, okay, well, like we still support him because he's like the king and like God chose him to be the king and whatnot. But it's like they wanted him to sign like a petition for better working conditions and whatnot. But yeah, obviously the Tsar's in there to accept it, but then like nobody even showed up from the palace. Nobody even like tried to come and get the petition so they could like take it to the Tsar or anything. They just kind of ignored the 100,000 people chilling outside. But then them out of nowhere, yeah, the guards like guarding the palace just started letting off shots into the crowd. They killed 200 people and wounded another 800 people. And like everyone was running away, like, but now everyone is fucking fuming, bro, because they had a peaceful protest and they just got shot, as they would be fuming. So by October 1905, 2 million people across the entire of Russia are on strike, which is quite a lot. 2 million workers, because obviously back in the time, like population was lower and stuff. So 2 million workers is like, that's gonna like heavy screw over your economy. So the Tsar, finally, they basically forced him, because the economy was crumbling. He had to do what they wanted. They forced him to create like a parliament, which like a secondary parliament. Not like it wasn't in charge of the country. Like he was still in charge, but it was kind of there like so he could take advice from or whatever. Yeah, so they basically forced him to form the Duma that they were asking for earlier. And he finally accepted, but he didn't want to accept. He only accepted because he had to. He said later he felt sick with shame at betraying his dynasty when he was accepted the Duma. And yeah, so the moderates are like, okay, right, he did that. Like the moderates are fine now. The moderate people, but then the extreme like revolutionaries are still just they don't like the Tsar at all. No matter what he does, they're not gonna be happy until he's gone, basically. So anyways, yeah, the country is still moving along until World War One breaks out 9 years later in 1914, and by 1915 the war's kind of going not the greatest for the Russians. So the Tsar decides to move his headquarters 800 kilometers to the west, so he can be closer to the front line, which is a mistake for two reasons, right? So the first reason is, if anything, well, there's already like unrest starting to spread in the capital because the war's not going that well. Yeah, so he's already far away from St. Petersburg, and that means if like unrest really starts to get out of hand, he's not there to like put a stop to things and take back control. And secondly, because things did start to go things didn't get better when he took control, but when things started to get worse, he was the one that got blamed for it. Just like in Japan, he was the one that got blamed for the war fucking up because he's gone off to take control of the army. He's gone off 800 kilometers away, so he's the one who's getting blamed when shit starts going wrong. And when shit goes wrong, it's not just Japan this time. It's like World War One, so stuff goes wrong, So, and also furthermore, in 1916, whilst the Tsar was away from the capital, the whole plot line with like Rasputin happened, where it's like his wife and kids basically became attached to this like mystical, weird monk healer guy, who he was like really close to the kids because he was like healing them through some, I don't know, like weird monkish powers. No one really knows what he was doing, but yeah, all the public didn't trust him, and all of the nobles didn't really trust him. So the nobles ended up shooting him and killing him. But by the time he was gone, like it was the image of like the royal family had already been smeared by this like untrustworthy, like weird, mystical looking monk guy. I'll put a photo of him on screen. He looks pretty damn mystical. And also, fun fact: they like after he died, they cut off his dick and then pickled it, and it's in a museum. Don't click up. Well, I mean, you can look it up, but it's kind of gross. I looked it up. So yeah, by March 1917, the war is going badly. Everything's going badly. So again, in the capital, St. Petersburg, or as it was called back then, Petrograd, hundreds of thousands of workers go on strike again. But this time, because they go on strike because like stuff like food shortages, they've still got crappy working conditions, same as they had like 10 years earlier. But this time, instead of trying to get the Tsar to help them, like trying to get him to sign a petition, they just decide, you know what, fuck this guy, we're going to take over Russia and fix everything ourselves, because he's obviously incapable of doing it. So they basically started destroying like all the symbols of the imperial monarchy in the city, and then like the government sent like tens of thousands of troops into the city to restore order, but they all just basically switched sides and said, yeah, you know what, also fuck the Tsar. So basically like everyone's like rebelling against this guy. He's completely lost control. He has like hardly any power anymore. So all the Tsar's like generals and advisors are telling him, you know what, like at this point just throw in the towel, like just abdicate, which he does. But instead of abdicating and then the throne passing on to his son, he gives it to some random guy called Grand Duke Michael or whatever. And Grand Duke Michael's like, bro, ain't no way I'm taking command of this absolute shit show unless everybody, like all the rebels, all the nobles and stuff are like, yeah, okay, you should be the new emperor. But then like in the time that he's trying to gather everyone together to be like, okay, you're the new emperor, basically the rebels and stuff in Petrograd and like Moscow and whatever, they basically just established their entire whole new own system without any Tsar or anything. Sorry, chat, so nice to have changed jumpers, and you might be able to hear my little sister playing piano in the background, but I can't be bothered putting off recording this video anymore, so we're just going to get the final bit of the video done today. So I was explaining the government which took power when the Tsar was like trying to appoint a successor. So it was a dual government between two groups. So one group was called the Provisional Government, which was kind of like the government, which was kind of like, so remember the Duma that he set up earlier, that they forced him to set up in 1905 after they all went on strike? They kind of took power and formed like a provisional government, which was a provisional government. It was meant to be until they could like set up a new proper government. And then the other people that they shared power with were called the Soviets, which were like the Workers' Council, the Communist Workers' Council. And so specifically the Soviet in Petrograd, which was the capital at the time, shared power with the provisional government. And because the Soviets had a lot of power because they had the support of a lot of the workers and the soldiers. But yeah, so they basically like forced the provisional government to accept power, and Soviets started like mini Soviets, I guess, because the Soviet was like because we think right now back as the Soviets as like the people who lived in the Soviet Union. But actually a Soviet is like a workers' council. So Soviets started springing up all across Russia, and there was 700 by the end of spring 1917. And so whilst like technically the provisional government held the power, it was clear that it's clear now especially that the real power was held by the Soviets. But since the provisional government were like the figurehead of the government, they would get blamed if anything went wrong, and shit went wrong. So the provisional government decided to stay in World War I, which was going terribly, and which everybody pretty much wanted to leave by now. They failed to solve the food shortages which had been crippling the country. And furthermore, so when the Soviets took power, they had promised to take all the land away from the aristocracy and give it out to the peasants. But the provisional government basically failed to do this. So in October 1917, everyone was kind of annoyed at the provisional government. So, led by Vladimir Lenin, the Soviets basically invaded the Winter Palace in Moscow and arrested the provisional government in the October Revolution. And so when I had the idea for this video, I basically thought, oh yeah, so once they do the October Revolution, that's the USSR, and that's like the rise of communism. Communism's taken over Russia. I kind of forgot that after the October Revolution, there's a whole fucking 5-year massive civil war, which engulfs like the entirety of Russia, and it'd be too big to cover in one video. So I might do the civil war in another video, but unfortunately, or fortunately, if you got bored of this video, that is going to be the end of this video, chaps. So this has been Jamie Connor. You've enjoyed watching me and learning about history, haven't you? And yeah, catch you on the next one. And I really want to fucking start uploading like at least a little bit more consistently in 2025, because I haven't been, I hardly uploaded shit all in 2024. I wasn't taking this shit. I'm not taking my YouTube seriously. I probably won't till uni actually take it seriously. But yeah, I want to at least upload a little bit more, you know. So anyway, yeah, catch you on the next one.